Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. We're looking at a saw now that you don't see cross this bench too much. First guess, you might think, oh, it's just a 360 with a chain brake. Nah, this one's from Canada. This is a Model 35. And yes, that is a chain brake. And it is complete. And it is functioning. Pretty damn cool, if you ask me. Not too many of these made it into the States, so I enjoy seeing them. Now Martin is up in Canada, British Columbia, so he sent this down here with a list of things that it needs. Oh come on, I gotta have one little 3/8 nut over here. These damn things, the bar studs, are so... well, we'll settle for one. They've got such a flat spot, or an unthreaded spot on them, that even with this giant flange that Dan put on this chainsaw vise, it's still just not quite enough. There we go. That'll work. I can live with that. So we'll just set that there for now. I don't want to lose anything. So, this is a clean saw. I mean, you can see that. It was from a rental company, apparently. You can see check oil before starting. That caution label is not a Homelite one. And then on the air filter cover, I can't swear to the fact that that's not a Homelite sticker. If it is a Homelite sticker, it's one that was only used for probably Canadian models or international models. I've never seen that on a US saw. So the carburetor's off of it. We got a little baggie of goodies here with a new, what appears to be a brand new intake boot. The bushing, and the washer or the gasket's still on the bottom of the carb there. The needles are out of the carb and they're labeled. Hopefully the springs are in there too. It looks like they are. A new fuel filter. There's the, oh crap, trigger linkage has come loose. That could be that could be some fun. Damn. Trying to get that back on is going to suck severely. I wish that hadn't happened. Huh. I thought this was going to be quick and easy. Okay, let's go through a few things. New oil pump. Oil pump doesn't seem to be pumping and is missing the adjustment knob. When I got the saw, it was full on really thick viscosity motor oil for some reason. Don't know if the viscosity was the problem or the pump just isn't working anymore. So I want to put a little something to rest on these saws. Not all of them had an adjustment. And even later pumps that did not have an adjustable lever, pretty much everything after, I believe, mid-1978 did not have an adjustment. They did away with that. But the pump is still threaded. Now part of that's so that you can pull the damn thing, thread a screw in there and put your pliers, channel locks, or vice grips on there, and you can pull it out once you've removed the retaining screw over on the side. But you can still see the remnants of the casting from the old pin. That's not sheared off. That's supposed to be that way, and the threads are supposed to be there. If you don't have a pin sticking up, your pump does not need a lever, and it is not adjustable. So that doesn't do much for what we're looking at here, other than I know that there's nothing missing there. That is the way it was built. So if it's truly not working, and it isn't just the thick oil that was in there, we've got a separate problem. Now there's some stuff we can check as we get this apart. But let's go through. So, new fuel and pulse lines. I will definitely do that. The way this one's tied in a knot, That would never be right again. This pulse line's still flexible enough, but we're going to be down there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense not to replace it. Looking down through the intake, I noticed some cracked rubber around the sides. It's in the gap between the throttle body and cylinder. Don't know if this is necessary. The previous owner did say they replaced the intake rubber boots, so I've included this for you to have a look at. Well, to me, yeah, it's there. Whatever was in there is just completely blown out. See, that boot should be flanged up over the top right here and sealing to this adapter down there, and it's not. You know, I never reset the height on this thing. I'm just noticing that. Squirrel moment, but I can give a little more of a better view. So that was that carburetor flange I was talking about. The boot lip ought to be coming up over the top. See how there's a lip there. That should be sitting on top there for the carb to push down on. Okay. Just did a carb kit change. Hasn't seen fuel. When I got this on, the throttle linkage wasn't connected to the trigger, and the choke linkage doesn't seem very smooth. Don't know if it's correct or if it's bent. The only way of getting the trigger... I can only see one way of getting at the trigger, and that's by cutting away the black handle wrap. Yeah, sadly, Martin, you're right. We might be able to salvage it. Gonna try. It's glued in place, and it's already tearing. But we might be able to get that thing off there without totally destroying it. But you're absolutely correct. The throttle linkage should not come out doing a carb change. My guess is whoever took it apart initially didn't really know what they were doing. Choke linkage looks right for the late model saws. So until, I mean, it's definitely been pried on a little bit, but until we get the carb back on, I don't know. We'll check it out. See if you have some throttle and choke grommets as well. Okay, one piece of good news. These saws, now let me make sure I'm not blowing smoke. Huh. Now I'm going to have to go back and look at the 35 manual. The 350 and 360 here in the US were top. They drew their air through the top. They had that cutout there. Now this is different. This looks like more of a standard top-down setup. And if that's the case, I will have to see if Homelite ever provided a grommet for either of these. They may not have. With where this comes through being mostly sealed up, they may have just said, oh, to hell with it, some sawdust will come through there. But I'll check that. That's interesting. These 35s are a little different than the ones produced here in the US. Chain sprocket if you have one. Saw had a few rental company stickers on it, so I assume they weren't using the correct chain. That is worn. It's almost cut through. So, whether or not they were using the correct chain or not, it's definitely worn out. So, yeah, we'll try to find that. Set of spikes, if you have them, would be nice. I don't know. I honestly don't know if I have a set of spikes or not, but I'll check on it. Anyway, that's what we're doing to this saw. I know that was a long lead in, but wanted to go through stuff. We're going to start by getting this throttle or top handle out of the way. Anything you do that involves removing or getting to the engine, you almost, like the boot and all that, anything down in there, you got to get this tank and throttle handle out of the way. To get that out of the way, you got to get this top handle removed. Good news is it's just 4 of these socket head screws, 2 up here and 2 down below, if I can avoid throwing my tools. normally these saws are so messy, you gotta take an awl or something, a real sharp dental pick, and clean all the sawdust out of these in order to get them to where you can get your tool in there. But this saw isn't all jacked up like that. So while it might have, I mean, it was a rental saw, but it wasn't abused as hard as, let's just say, the rental stuff that you find here in the States. Anyway, comes right off. Now we've got some good access. While we're down here, might as well take this bottom strap off. That plate, again, is one of those things that lots of service work requires its removal. Now this is jacked up. You can already tell that's the wrong type of screw and wrong pitch threads in there. That is absolutely not correct. There is a nut up in there, and it's supposed to be a 1024, and that's a 1220 screw that was up in there, so that nut's probably screwed up. And if we're going to have that black rubber off anyhow, we can replace that. In fact, that's the only way to replace it, is to get this rubber handle out of the way. But I don't want to focus on that just yet. Cross that bridge when we get there. Alright, so this is a 4-point AV system. That is common to all of these of this family. Got 2 up here, 1 down here, and 1 down there. This piece that fell out is the muffler shield. That's retained by this throttle hand, or the handle brace. It goes just like that. It's an easy one to forget about, but that is there for a reason. It's there to keep oily sawdust from coming back and accumulating against the muffler, reduce the risk of a fire. Alright, so these should be a 7/16 head. Yeah, and that socket's on the bench. There it is. No, that's 3/8. Oh, good. Didn't have enough Easter a few minutes ago. There we go. Alright. So we're just going to pull those out. They put Loctite on those from the factory, so you don't want to just reef. If one of these breaks off in there, you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun extracting those threads. And yes, I have seen stranger things. Normally, your intake boot is still partially intact, so you've got to take these 2 screws loose that are right here, those 2, so that plate will stay there with the intake boot as you lift this off. We're going to do it the right way, even though I don't think that boot is intact at all. We'll service it the proper way. Now, the hell, I don't think I've ever had a clearance issue with one of these sockets before. Not on this particular application. Interesting. Hope that's not a sign of things to come. Alright. Notice I haven't taken the starter off. Don't need to. See how easy that is? Now this is clean, and these AV bushings aren't worn out. It could be significantly more work. Alright, so you get to this point and you need to disconnect your oil feed hose. Now we can set that aside. That's all that it takes to get that out of there. Now, this piece of rubber was floating around. That is a piece of the old intake boot. And not supposed to be like that. So, side note. Automatic oilers on these things can give a lot of trouble because of that little fitting right there. That's nylon like a lot of those carb fittings had. Fuel hookup. If this gets cracked, it'll suck air. So I've had many a case where I would bench test it and it would oil okay for just a short while. And that's because heat from the engine would pressurize the oil tank and push a little bit through. But primarily it was just pumping air, so it'd be really weak oil output, and it's like, oh, it's got to be the pump, got to be the pump. Not necessarily. That cracked fitting has been the bane of many a person's existence. Good news, you can clean it up and just JB weld it, seal it up. This is low pressure, so that will work. Now this one has a very minute crack. I don't think enough to keep it from oiling, but I'll check it out. We haven't checked spark yet. We're going to for just the grins. Let's see if I can shock myself here. Nice spark. And you might be thinking, now wait a damn minute, I can't do that on my 350 or 360. Nope. For whatever reason, the 35s have a, is it a 330 coil? I think so. I think it's the same coil as on a Homelite 330. For whatever reason, for these versions, Homelite chose to use that single piece instead of the two piece. Don't ask me. Alright. So there is what's left of the intake boot. And that is exploded. I mean, that is just... that is dry rotted. Which actually is good for us. Most of these things end up being a puddle of goo. And that's not good for us, because that is a pain to clean up. So that garter spring is important. This one's not all jacked up, so we'll be able to reuse it. Now, there's no reason to go any further at this point. Just gonna clean up junk around here. Somebody at some point has put a little silicone down here that's loose. And I don't know why you would do that. That plate is nothing but a baffle. So it's not a critical tolerance thing there. God. Like somebody tried to silicone the damn boot in place, and that is not in any way, shape, or form necessary or recommended. Beats me. Alright, new boot's nice and flexible. So you carefully want to work that on. And it drops in place. And without stretching this spring too much, I want to work it down. It's tempting to try and put this on the bottom and then slip it in place that way. I can tell you from experience that doesn't work. Doing it from the top like this and just working it past those screws carefully. There we go. Piece of cake. So I changed my mind. That impulse line is in great shape. We're going to keep that. And the reason we're going to keep that is because Tygon with heat over time will harden. This original blend of hose, when it comes to impulse lines, if your original is in good shape, I recommend reusing it. This one has no damage. Yeah, that one's in great shape. So we're going to feed it back through, but do it the right way. Don't do it the wrong way like I almost did. It is so easy to put one of these in backwards. For some reason, the way it goes has always been counterintuitive to me. Just the look isn't right, so my brain goes to put it in the wrong way each time. So then, I'm going to work that up into there. See how that pops into place nice? And it almost sits there exactly where it needs to. There we go. Piece of cake. No big deal at all. Alright, I'm going to shove that out of the way for a minute. God, I hate doing this. I've had some success doing this. They are glued in place originally. So that's what I'm doing here, is trying to break that bond loose enough that we can try and slide that damn thing off. Again, if you've tried to find these, you know that they're out there, but they're not readily available, and it kind of hurts to pay 25 bucks for a grip like this. This is some kind of rubbery cement type crap. So it tries to reseal the minute you go away. I said there's no guarantee this is going to work. We're going to try. Oh, come on, you bastard. Gotta get it started over the trigger, too. Jeez. It may not be worth putting this on video, I don't know. The fact that it's already torn, unfortunately, just makes this task even harder. Oh, there we go. See that? So this is where I got to get that damn trigger to start. Get it to move over that. If I can put some pressure on it. Ah, you stupid thing. Here we go. Oh, come on. The bottom end doesn't want to release here. It doesn't help when you're trying to lean to get leverage. Oh, you miserable piece of junk. Whew. Yeah. So even with this off, trying to see to get that realigned is almost impossible. Oh, what the? Oh, well, yeah. That's that square nut out of the back I was telling you about. We'll see if it's even any good. So the way to service all this stuff is driving those individual roll pins out. And I'm not doing that if I can avoid it. I got to review an IPL, see if there was ever a grommet there. And I'll get that rod in place somehow, and then we'll come back. Okay. So, I was afraid of that. The grommets that Homelite specified were the old 5.8, 5.38 that were used on the old Super XLs and all that you cannot get. So I cut down some, I believe these are MS660 steel grommets. I've got to take a little pie-shaped wedge out of the ring, super glue that edge as I'm putting it in. Not perfect, but it works. Maybe that's the best takeaway tip from this video, is that's about the best thing I know of to replace those grommets. Alright, so I thought this damn oil tank was empty. I'm wrong. So of course, while it was loose here, it sat and puked oil and made a nice fat mess, which I don't want a grease ball in here. So take the time to clean stuff up. Most saws are going to look far worse than this one did when you get them apart. So take the time to clean it up so you get your airflow back. Alright, that hose still fits tight. There's no leakage on that at this point. I'm going to leave it. I have to come back in, I will. But I don't think so. So be sure to fish your pulse hose up there. Look at that, it just dropped into place. I mean, that's abnormal. Normally it's going to take a little more than that. So putting these AV mounts back in, get at least a turn before you go at it with an impact or a ratchet. That way you're certain you don't have anything cross-threaded. It's easy to forget them, but this is the point that you want to get these two chamber screws in, and you've got to pull this plate around. Come on, camera. This is such a pain. Okay, you got to pull this plate around with your finger until you see those holes line up. And again, get a turn or two so that you know you've got it. God. These later models are a tight fit because they redesigned the choke linkage. That choke button, instead of being retained with hardware, is just a snap-in. So that required a linkage redesign. And to put the linkage right in the way. Okay. get that handle dealt with real quick. See if this nut is still any good. Alright, they didn't drive it in far enough to screw it up, so we're going to reuse it. And put the right screw back in. So I'm going to tilt this thing up a little bit, just so I don't have to fight that nut. I'm just going to slip it back in its upper slot up here. That's all it is a square nut that's retained up there. I'm going to work this rubber back on. Obviously I'm compressing triggers, getting everything started. And it's going to go back on easier than it came off. If for no other reason, but because of Murphy's Law. There we go. Okay. That's moving. The main trigger will move. Yeah. Nothing's jammed. So we're in the right spot. While we're up here, we'll go ahead and put the throttle handle brace back on. That's that muffler shield that just slips right in there. And go to my parts bin and get one of these screws. It might be a smidge long, but there's plenty of room up there for it, so I'm not worried about that. Fasco Rentals is what's etched right there. Huh, I'll be danged. You guys that are up in Canada, maybe that's a name that you recognize. Maybe it isn't. Could you not fight with me, please? Dipstick. Much better. Okay. So far, so good, folks. It's going quite well. Come on, you. There we go. All right. So we're ready to replace that fuel hose. Get that out of the way. Now this in the tank is, yeah, that was a little stiffer. Okay. Yep, that'll go where it belongs. We need 10.5 inches. According to my cheat sheet chart. So we'll put 11 with a slash cut. Everybody's got their own little ways of doing this. A lot of the grommet saws, you can poke it through and grab it with a pair of needle nose pliers. This setup has no grommet, it's just a drilled hole in the metal tank. So I use a feed wire. And I'm going to try it going that way, because this likes to pull out at some point. So you take the slash cut, just put a little hole in the tip, hook it onto the old pull wire here, and actually I want to do so that the cut end of the pull wire is inside of the hose, and I'm going to crimp it there. And we're going to hope for the best. A little motor oil for lube. Now cross your fingers. Oh, see how easy that was? It's not always that easy. But you take the time to set your pull wire and lubricate the hose, it will make it easier. Alright, so we might as well get this carburetor bolted on. Alright, now this bushing comes from the factory with the gasket adhered up here. It's not uncommon for it to either stick to the saw and the whole bushing come off, or for it to do this. You don't need to replace it. There's not a damn thing wrong there. Alright. And here comes the hard part. And it's hooking this choke, or this carburetor up without making a mess. And I don't know how well you guys will be able to see it even when I put it over here, because my hands are going to be in the way. But I'll give it a shot. You got to align two sets of linkages at once. And that's just not any fun. Oh shit, those... Almost looks like somebody's drilled. HDC 78. Huh. I don't know. That just doesn't look quite right. Looks like that hole is way too big. But we'll go with it. So that's the first step. And I'm gonna... God, this is a pain. You gotta get the hook of the throttle behind. Come on. I felt it. There we go. But I'm half up. Oh. Didn't rotate it the right direction. If you can hold the throttle open, not jack that gasket up, it's a little easier to snag. But remember, the throttle goes on the bottom. Ah, damn it, that stupid choke rod. God, I hate this setup. Okay. So now I've got the throttle, I've got to make this choke work. And this is part of why things got bent up. You basically have to do at the same bloody time. Alright, can we rotate it? Whew! Nope. Look at that, it came out. Isn't that special? This is even harder than a standard 350, 360. Quite a little bit. There it goes. So how bent is everything? God. What a pain. Trying to get this bushing realigned under here so that the bolts will go through. I think we'll get the carb bolted down and then try and see how bad the linkage is or isn't. Now this adapter, you can easily strip the threads out of it, so you definitely want them to start threading in on their own. Which I thought that one did. God. Come on, you. I'm not in the mood for your baloney. I'm just looking at the plate here, guessing. And not having a whole lot of luck at the guessing. I mean, it's right there. I can see the threads, so why don't you just play ball? Damn it. I'm not happy with this. Oh, come on, for the love of... Okay. Fun. Alright. Man, that carburetor coming out, that linkage got mangled. There we go. I can live with that, I think. Still not. There we go. That's fully open. Okay. Fuel hose goes over here. And that's why I left it out of the tank, so that I could pull this to about the right spot. Now, you want nice, gentle S shape. You don't want that kinked off like that, or it isn't going to work. So let's throw our new fuel filter on here. And I'm going to move this camera back the hell out of my way now that we're basically done in there. I mean, we got to hook up the impulse line, but again, that's just the port on the back of the carburetor here. And you don't want that wrapped around your choke linkage. Okay. I don't know how much oil is actually left in there. But we're going to find out. Even though there's still a little work to do, I want to hear it run. And I want to see if this oiler's doing anything special, because if that needs to come out of there, I want to show you guys that process too. It's not difficult, but there is a sequence you need to follow to avoid damaging anything. Oh, yeah. Forgot. Carburetor's torn apart here and the damn needles are still out of it. I'm not used to that. 35 low. I'm glad they're labeled. Means we'll have to fight with getting that grommet set in the right spot too. Normally you don't need to take these out. Just remove the carburetor and leave that grommet on the three needles. It's easier. Easier getting out and easier going back in. I'm going to probably have to loosen the carb up to get this grommet to go in. Okay, right there, 1.5 turns on the low. Now we feed this back in ourselves. Certainly, yeah. Pushing in. Run pretty light still. Let's try to get the side seat. Just not looking. Come on. Close. Not quite there. We're going to make anything that's real quick. It's a hell easier. It is hard back in place. No. I see why this is good. Right side choke, set of the pain but that's a pain butt. Got it. This is where that. This pushing is really not a problem now. Now we're going all kinds of different things. Come on. It's not much fun. You know what's nice. Right there. Right. Good job. I'm supposed to do that without action. So, we'll figure it out. Well, here's that run. Plug it in. How long is it? That is not a cable, so it's plug it in. Let me switch something to it. Alright. So here's some fire. And we'll use, maybe, oh, that's swear to God, some things just want to fight. There's a little bit of goo from the old grommet. It's apparently binding the choke, or throttle linkage here. Well, it's possible that this aftermarket or steel grommet won't work down here. And if that's the case, I have nothing that'll work. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time worrying about it. What's his name? Little Red Barn has reproduced a lot of parts. And I hope pretty soon that grommet becomes one of those reproduced parts, because there's just nothing out there that does the job quite right. For the love of God. Nothing. Not in this application. It doesn't work for crap. Doesn't help that that grommet is not going to work. This linkage got bent. Okay. Alright, we're going to try that test run now, because at least the throttle will retract to idle. just drew fuel. Guess would help if the choke was on. There, it tried. Sounds too rich. God. Oh, it's tight. See if we can keep it running. Oh boy, the joys. There's something seriously wrong there. That is overfueling like you wouldn't believe. Severely overfueling. Put it at 1. I've already got the high. The high is closed. It shouldn't have even been revving. You know, some days just aren't as much fun as others. Alright, let's find out what is going on here. Okay. I can see with this linkage exactly why the grommet was taken off. That is a pain. But man, you can still see the vapor coming out of that thing. I've got two theories. Pressure test it first and see if it's holding pressure like it should. Nope. See that? I know you can hear it. So she's overfueling because that inlet needle and seat are not seat, well, it's just not sealing. So it's providing way too much fuel. So let's get in here and find out why. Up. Here we go, folks. That stupid aftermarket diaphragm with too tall of a nub. I don't know what company is making those, But if I could get my hands on the quality control person that signed off on that, well, they'd have wings or horns when I got done with them. Tell you that much. My guess is it'll seal right now and hold pressure. Yeah, what do you know? Ah, the joys. Well, it's a shame to throw away a good diaphragm. So I'm not gonna. You gotta be careful doing this. But if you end up with some of those dirty things, you can work that nub down to the right height with the file. It just takes a little bit of time. What? Okay, thank you. I'm holding the diaphragm material up so it doesn't hit the file, but I'm also holding the metal disc. You use the diaphragm to pull it across this file, you're going to damage that material and tear it off. I guarantee that. Close. Close, but not quite where I want it. Step to the air hose. Alright, that's close. If she bleeds off, I'll bend the arm down just a smidge. Or I'll just replace the damn thing. It's a shame to throw it away, but got it. Got it. Let's see, I don't know if a batch of parts got mixed up. It was a huge batch if that's all it was. I think somebody just screwed up their specs as they were making diaphragms. Next time I come across it in a pack, if I come across it in a pack, I will identify what company it is to watch out for. I don't know. I think the HDB used the same diaphragm, but maybe it could use that bigger nub, and somewhere along the way some company thought you could interchange them. I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened there, but that's the result. When you use it on an HDC, things go south right quick and in a hurry, because the arm was set exactly where it belonged. Alright. Struggle through getting this god blessed thing on again. Come on, baby. Don't bend. Nice. That damn fuel hose out of the way. And we can just... Any luck. Damn it, that gasket. If we can rotate that thing into... Why that gasket's being a pain on me now. It might be trashed. Come on. Nope, it's okay. But it's not gonna be if this thing won't go into place. Okay. Now we gotta fight the alignment. It's off a smidge. That's damn close. Woo! All right. This thing won't go to full throttle all the way. Come on. There she goes. Okay. Let's see if we can get a better test run. So I'll reset this. I'll go to about 3/4 on that one. This one I reset to 1. It's probably a little lean, but and I'm not going to choke it at first because I think it sat there and flooded a bit. Okay. Still some work to do. I'm convinced that somebody has modified this, where this carburetor has, oh yeah, yeah, there's no question that's not Walbro engineering there. So I might have to tweak that a little bit to make it idle where I want it to idle consistently. There's just so much. Yeah, that's the problem, is it's hitting, you guys can't see it, but it's hitting the actual carburetor housing with this modified piece. It's not even touching the idle speed screw itself. I've got that backed all the way out. Yeah. Yeah, somebody's had some fun with this. But whatever. It is oiling. That's an appropriate amount of oil for what it's doing, for the amount of runtime we had, and it is idling. So I'll do some more work on it, but Martin, I think we're going to be good on this one.